Right, here we go. Our lucky Shag. So I'll comb around and just get a feel for her density and texture of the hair. I'll push the hair forward to the top and just find where her hair naturally begins to part. And from that point, I'll comb in a diagonal line connecting the crown area. So starting off on the right side, I'll comb the hair straight out and then I'll begin to elevate. Now I want to keep the length and just remove heaviness. So I work off the existing length so nothing falls out there. And from here I go in and I'll cut my concave shape. Okay, so next section, I use the original guide. And then for this technique, I'll be using pivoting sections. So again, working around the head. And my technical shape that I'm cutting here is concave. So I'm removing a tremendous amount of weight. Her hair is beyond super thick. And I don't want to build up like a shape that's too heavy, like a bell shape. So selecting concave above 90 degrees will allow me to remove a tremendous amount of weight while keeping the overall length. So notice how her outline dropped out. Okay, comb the hair to natural fall, make visual assessments. Our next section falls right at about the ear. Still working in round, pivoting sections. I'll comb the hair super clean from roots to ends. Now when you're working this technique, you have to be aware of your elevation. So in my mind, I visually see this like oval laser line, which tells me where I'll be elevating. So I'm not really following the head shape. I'm commanding the shape that I intend to cut over the head shape. So I'm cutting a 3D shape on the 3D shape. My 3D shape is the Shag. The secondary 3D shape is Lucky's head shape. And just continue to work with clean, manageable sections. I highly recommend that your eyes are in a very close proximity to what you're actually cutting. Also, after you nail a section, it's a great habit to comb it to natural fall and just make visual assessments of what you're actually creating. So now I reach a point where the head starts to round. So again, I keep my elevation consistent and still nailing in that concave line. And as I'm cutting round throughout this technique, notice my body position. Notice how it changed. When I began this technique, I was standing right in front of that section and I flipped to the outside of my fingers, but my body position is also round. So this is essential because if you keep your feet placed in the exact same manner, you will have a tremendous challenge with your over direction. Again, going in with the intention of retaining my outline length, but removing a significant amount of heaviness. This technique is quite suitable for a guest that has, again, tons and tons of hair, but really doesn't want to go short. They just want more of a shape and for the hair not to fall as heavy. This would be an ideal technique to pull out of your repertoire and just nail it. And you'll find that your retention increases dramatically because again, we're listening to our guest requirements. We're selecting the very best technique to suit her requirements. So again, keeping that length, which a lot of clients have, but removing heaviness. So a concave Shag would work perfectly in this situation. So on the opposite side, on the left side, now my challenge here, I have to nail my shape at the exact amount of elevation and the exact same angle. So just be very mindful and make sure that that outline drops out. But prior to using that outline dropping out as a landmark, make sure that the overall length is symmetrical. So still, body position. With each section, I'll gradually move my body towards her occipital bone. So my landmarks for my body position would be chest parallel to the nose, gradually moving chest parallel to the ear, gradually moving chest between ear and occipital bone, and finishing off chest right there at the occipital bone. Okay, so again, combing the hair, super clean, from roots to the guideline. I have my comb mimic the shape that I intend to cut. So as I comb the hair from roots to my guideline, I ensure that my comb is always at concave angle. I make sure that my comb, the angle doesn't deviate from when I set my comb angle as I comb out till it reaches my guideline. I much prefer with my stroke to have my fingers follow my comb as opposed to my fingers are in total control of everything, because my fingers have a natural tendency to shift around or just change the angle. So using my comb is a much more consistent and steady benchmark that I can use while I'm cutting. So again, working in clean, manageable sections. I know going into this haircut that each section will be larger than the length of my fingers, so I will have to go in and break each section down to 2 or 3 smaller, more manageable, we'll call them mini sections. And still, my body position is moving round, again because that's the shape that I intend to cut. And notice the amount of heaviness that we're able to take down by going concave. Layering would be nice, but if I went in, I just layered this shape, I would build up a heavy ridge that ran somewhat diagonal throughout the shape once the hair hit natural fall. And I really don't want that heaviness. Okay, now as I comb the hair, my body position also mimics the shape that I'm cutting. So now my body position is also concave. My right shoulder is slightly higher than my left. So my body position again mimics the exact same shape that I intend to cut. Again, at this point my chest is quite parallel to the ear. So as I said earlier, I like to mind map my body position prior to cutting in that guideline. So I just remind myself as I cut, I'll progressively be moving my body, which will allow me for the greatest amount of control. So I run it through my mind first, and then I execute it, so my margin of error will be buttoned down. Okay, so now working to the back. Consistent elevation. I'm still cutting in that concave shape, breaking this large section into smaller, more manageable sections. And out here, I just want to make sure that that outline does drop out. Combing the hair super clean from roots to guideline. And I'll flip to the inside of my fingers, so I find it a little bit easier to control at that point. My outline does drop out. And if you have a client that's kind of, you get the feeling that she's quite iffy about you cutting her hair off really short, just whenever you get to the point where the outline drops out, you can bring it up behind the chair and say, see, look, the outline's dropping out. So we're keeping the length as we agreed to, but we're removing a lot of heaviness. Look on the floor. All that heaviness will allow your hair to fall super sleek with tons of movement. So again, at the occipital bone area, my outline drops out. Now this section, I'll be connecting both sides. So I'll build up a bit of weight. Increase elevation. My over direction's on. And again, at this point, I'm blending the two sides so they fuse naturally and organic. And I'll work a bit beyond the midpoint of the back of the head just to allow for a better blend. Okay, now transitioning to the top portion of the haircut, I'll take a diagonal section that incorporates the side and the back, and then from here I'll just comb the hair straight out, and I'll follow my guideline, and I just extend that angle. So again, working with slightly diagonal sections, working forward. Just combing the hair super clean from roots to ends. And here I'll over direct just slightly, just to take into consideration her hair naturally parts from left to right. So I'll need to, as I work forward here, I'll start to build slightly more length as I move towards the front. By this additional over direction, it will allow me to ensure that when her hair falls naturally, the lengths are symmetrical. So again, cool, calm, collected. The entire process of this section, I run it through in my mind as I comb out that section. So I have a clearer mind map. And then once everything's clear, then I'll go in and I'll start doing my actual cut. If during that time I run the process of that section in my mind and something gets fuzzy or I get a glitch, I'll really seriously, I'll stop and I'll think it through. And then once everything makes sense, and then I'll go and start executing. A lot of times, if you're just cutting and not thinking, you're open to make way too many mistakes. Okay, and now at the left side, I'll come here straight out, and notice how the angle is a bit different. I take a piece of the guideline from the right. So notice how, like, as I was cutting that guideline on the right, you saw like a corner being built. Again, that's to ensure that when the hair does fall naturally, I have the lengths and the weight distribution is symmetrical. So comb the hair super clean from roots to ends. And here I'm working up two guides. I have the length from the right and my guideline that exists through the back and the sides. This haircut has to connect. And with my final section through the front, her hair is a bit, the density is a bit off. So here I'll use less tension just to allow for that inconsistent density, and I'll point cut this area so it falls a bit softer. Okay, and for the blow dry, I'll just go in and I'll flat wrap the hair. So I make sure that the nozzle of my dryer is following the back of my brush. I encourage the hair by pushing it in multiple directions, which will give me a tremendous amount of movement and a natural finish. Here I'm not going for artificial poof because, again, once the hair is dry, I have to go back and refine that shape. Okay, so now that we finished the hair, I'm just going back technically and I'm just removing weight. I'm chipping into my ends here and I'm looking for a consistent distribution of that weight and making sure that my lines are clean. If I have heaviness in the line, I'll just knock it down and then I'll start texturizing it so I can get two things done in one shot. And as I texture the hair, my elevation is quite high because I want this again to fall softer. And as I texturize the hair, I'm working in shadows and I'm looking for consistent distribution. And a standard that I hold for texturizing is enough is enough once I'm able to comfortably comb the hair from roots to the ends. Okay, so working to the top area, just looking for the fullness, the balance. I want to see a lot of movement. I want it to fall soft. I want the shape to be fluid. Again, just working in shadows. I'm thinking about density, and my intention is to keep the hair nice and sleek, not too heavy. So I need to texture the exact amount that fits my overall intention. So here again, just removing weight, working in shadows. Okay, well there we have it, our lucky shag. Enjoy.